Yeah. It's the Quis. I'm back. And the reason why I'm wearing the same thing, because this is part 2 of a 2-part series on racism. And I'm not alone. I got my man Tyler with me. Tyler, say what's up to the people.
What up?
Yeah. Now, if you watched the last episode, we were talking about racism. And we were talking about how, even though we have a black president, we probably don't have another black president or the same black president for another 4 years. We still live in a racist society. It's just that, like Kanye said, racism's still alive. They just be concealing it. And they conceal it in systems such as the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, education system that's meant to keep a vast majority of people uneducated and trained to follow directions. I mean, everything from architecture to city planning, urban planning is created to control people. I mean, you ever look at the parallel lines of streets and city planning and even corridors and just how the colors of places like hospitals and public buildings, it guides you, it leads you. I mean, we're like rats in a maze. And capitalism is a system that's meant to set us against one another. So, Tyler, you briefly mentioned in the last video about how minorities came together, how we can have controlling power. But don't you understand why that won't happen?
No, I don't.
Well, it's the basis of capitalism to say, hey, we're going to create these artificial groups based on race and culture. Then we're going to give certain privileges to one group, or we're going to restrict privileges for another group. And so we're going to use a system of rewards and punishments so that as a group you'll mobilize, but you'll always be in competition. So analogy for that is a master at a table with starved dogs nipping at his heels. And what he does is he chops up little pieces of the steak he's eating and he throws little chunks at dogs and make them compete for it to keep them feral and wild and in competition. But what the dogs don't seem to realize is if they came together and rip out his throat, they can divide the steak evenly. So we're meant to be distracted with entertainment. We're meant to be uneducated. There's a book called Savage Inequalities that talks about how the education system, everything from filling in the dittos and the boxes and overcrowded classrooms, is meant to create a dumb populace, because the educated population will question a two-party political system. They'll question, the calorie intake, food that we eat. They'll question things, and they'll create a society where we're not systematically being reduced. We're dying from curable diseases. We are being eradicated slowly but surely. But before they eradicate us, they're going to exploit all of the resources that we're providing. So I'm gonna let you respond to that, and then I want to segue into another conversation. But what do you say in response to what I just said before we go further?
Well, honestly, not to be like duh, but you're right. We only do have a two-party system, even though they make it sound like independence is something that's standing there. There's never been an independent president underneath that political. And I've noticed that other countries do have more than one just political party.
Right.
So it kind of makes you think that at the end of the road, servicely the Republicans make you think that they're fighting. At the end of the road, are they all really just together?
Right. Like when Obama got elected, it was like everybody was caught up in the spirit of like, we've reached a point where racism isn't an issue. But first of all, just like Bush stole the election, I don't trust that Obama necessarily won, because any white person you talk to, they're like, I didn't vote for him. And, it's likely that they did it.
I don't want to sound like another black man trying to hold another black man down. It's funny how he wins, and they just have the worst Republicans they could think of to put them up there.
Yeah, these Republicans are a joke. Like, I try to look at it like objectively and critically and be like, okay, is this somebody on President Obama's level? First of all, I mean, President Obama is probably the coolest dude. He's like Lando. Our president is Lando Calrissian. I feel like we nominated Billy D. Williams. We're mixed with like Jay-Z and The Rock.
And not to be like, because I used to hate it when they say Clinton was their first black president. He did, even though he did do servicely a lot of things to help black people, he also allowed Wall Street unregulated. So he really just didn't give a fuck about black people. That's how that showed.
Clinton
was really is. Obama's cool.
Clinton is that fat girl you lost your virginity to, and Obama is who you took to the prom. So Clinton got us ready for a radical liberal president, and Obama is just like, Mr. Big Dick, Mr. Cool Dude. I'm pretty sure Obama was genetically engineered. I never heard of him before, 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, me neither. But I agree with that if he was able to do more and he was really, like, to me, I just see he's like, being picked on.
Well, I feel like it's all orchestrated. I feel like it's like the WWE. You got John Cena versus The Rock, and Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant, and they hate each other. And it's this idea that these people really like each other, but then they all go out for drinks afterwards. They all have a great time hanging out together. Hell, it's more likely that Rick Santorum, President Obama, George Bush, and Rock and Hulk Hogan all hang out together, and they're all just controlling different aspects. To me, politics are more entertaining and childish than they are something that I feel seriously affects my life. It's like sleight of hand. It's like, watch this debate that's public, but in reality, there's all these systems put in place to control us. So I know a lot of people out there are into Ancient Aliens, and recently I've been on Netflix watching Wonder Years. Shout out to Kevin Arnold. That show is hilarious. If you haven't watched it in a while. And the X-Files. And it's funny because I think the reason why so many of us young men in particular love, like, the cartoons like the Avengers. I'm looking forward to that movie, as I've said on like every episode, the comic books, the video games, is we want to go back to that time where we felt safe and we didn't have as much responsibility and pressure. But in going back to recapture that spirit and watching the X-Files, it makes you wonder, is there at the top of our societal matrix, are there extraterrestrial puppet masters? Who is at the top of this carefully orchestrated pyramid? It's like it's
think of how you get your technology.
Yeah, technology and these perfect systems. Everything from religion. It's like people, they make me mad because they seem to be, if everyone was as inquisitive as I find myself to be, and if everyone was as determined to make shows like Quis' Couch and to ask questions and to read constantly and to be critical, then maybe we can figure some answers out. But most people just seem content to not see what's in front of their face. Like the movie They Live, John Carpenter's 1988 movie, which the clothing line Obey is based on, how there were all these subliminal messages behind billboards that said obey, procreate. There was a scene where money actually said, "This is your God." And the irony is that on money it says, "In God trust." That's so crazy to me. So it's like the truth is not out there. It's right in front of our faces, but we have this sense of delusion where we don't want to see it. And I feel like we can handle it. I understand that the sizzles in place are necessary evils. I get it. But why piss on my back and tell me it's rain? Let me get used to the fact that you pissing on my back and explain to me why. Oh, you just a pervert pissing on backs? All right. It's not so bad once I know it's piss. I know to keep my mouth closed. That's all. That's what it boils down to. That's what our society is a series of back pisses told to be rain. It's like, let me turn around. Don't you turn around. I told you it was rain. That's some hot rain. So that's my message to society. If you out there, aliens, demons, Vince McMahon, whoever's running society, just stop pissing on my back. Call me and say, you know what? It's piss. You're right. Job.
So you basically want them to say, I'm about to fuck you and then fuck you.
Yeah, and then don't kiss me on the back of my neck afterwards. You can make me your bitch, but I'm not a lady.
That's hilarious.
You know what I'm saying? Don't try to, we're not cuddling. You fucked me, it hurt, I cried, but don't try to console me and comfort me and give yourself a peace of mind. Call a spade. You raped the shit out of me. We're not cool, okay? But I understand you're a raper. You can't help yourself. That's who you are. I'm a rapee. That's my reality. And let's keep it 100. I'm gonna pants up, pull up my big boy drawers, and I'm gonna keep it moving. But don't say we, made love and now I'm gay. No, I'm a straight man that was raped repeatedly. And I like it. So don't try to make it, so you don't feel guilty. No, you're a soulless monster, okay? And you rape dudes, metaphorically and literally. So and dudes is society, and your big rape dick is all the systems that keep us separate. You know, even white men are victims to racism and sexism, and they're conditioned to be either people that are going to take over these corrupt systems or destroy.
Because have to have casualties of war. That's the only why there are white people in this society who do get fucked up. It's because they have to have some casualties of war.
If they have a soul, if they have a conscience, if they have, you know, a sense of sensitivity, then they're gonna get crushed. Like, as a white person, you got to take all of the. It's like that scene in Talladega Nights where Cal was like, "Hey, Ricky, I was thinking sometimes maybe I could win a race." And Ricky was like, "You know what, Cal? I want you to take those feelings and I want you to push them down real deep, and we'll never speak of this again." That's what white people are expected to do in society. When you say, "Hey, racism is wrong," or sexism is wrong, and then the greater, you know, evil says, "Hey, either you give the program or you're going to get destroyed." So I think white people are cultivated to be soulless, or they push towards it. And, you know, they're called crazy. You know, they get John Brown. You know the story of John Brown, don't you?
No.
John Brown was a white man during slavery who was friends with Frederick Douglass, who led the assault on Harper's Ferry. It was the southern where they kept the armory during the Civil War. This was you know, you might want to check your facts out there, people. Google Brown. I'm gonna give you a brief synopsis, and you go, Marquise, it was after the Civil War, it was before the Civil War. Harper's Ferry, John Brown led a 21 man strike force. I believe like 11 of the men were his sons, or 6 of the men were his sons, and he was a white man who wanted to put weapons in the hands of slaves. And he led a strike force to take over Harper's Ferry. He got really close to being able to take this weapons depot and to arm slaves in order to lead a slave revolt. And he would have been successful. There's never been a John Brown movie. You know, you're an educated black man who never heard of him. And this was a white man who cared about the freedom of slaves. And he was executed because he tried to help black people become free. And I think that that's the fate of all white and non-black people who want to help, is you will get John Brown. You will get John Brown down. So look up John Brown, people. Look up things like the lynch letters. Look up things like Rosewood. You know, Google Black Wall Street. Our nation has a very brutal history when it comes to dealing with black people, the Black Panther movement. You know, one day you'll probably, you know, see me in the news taken out or in prison, and then they'd be like, "Yo, what happened to that brother?" And it's just like somebody will catch on, like, "Hey, he has the potential to awaken people, to make a difference." So you be careful if you out there, black or white, trying to make a difference in this world, because they will take you out. And I see that as the greatest honor that can be bestowed upon the individual, because that means you were on the right track and you were doing the right thing. They only assassinate great people. What's that?
You talking about like political prisoners?
I'm talking about from, you know, rappers that you know, Tupac and Biggie, that had music that had messages of the just realness, that, you know.
There's only one between the two.
What's that?
One rapper.
Huh?
There was only one rapper between the two who was killed by the government.
Well, I think Biggie, my theory about Biggie is that he was killed by people in his own camp who wanted him to represent and sell a certain lifestyle that maybe he didn't want to continue to promote. And I think that he wasn't willing to be a puppet anymore. And so I think that his resistance is what got him killed. I think he had the spirit of a revolutionary, and he just simply, from a young age, he was co-opted.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, there was a Biggie funeral. I know many people said this. There was never a Tupac funeral. It was like after he got killed, he was in the hospital. He supposedly died. Autopsy, body's gone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, where's this? You know, so
it was. That's why, like, you when certain people get wind of the potential of an individual, whether it's Jesus or Martin Luther King, you take them out early. You know, and the funny thing is, I have fear that will happen to me because I'm on the side of righteousness. So I believe in God, I believe in love, I believe in truth, and that's what keeps me comforted. All right, Tom, got 5 seconds, last word.
You're the best. Urban Geeks. Just happy to be on the show finally.
That's what's up.